If you're calm and you're at peace with yourself, you're gonna be a better father, you're gonna be a better friend, you're gonna be a better partner, you're gonna be a better husband, wife, whatever. You're gonna be someone that people wanna be around, and by being around peace and tranquility, you radiate peace.
If you have a cup that is clouded with mud, right? The only way to really let that water clear again is to wait. It will settle to the bottom. Calm down. It will settle. And once it settles, you'll have clarity.
What's up?
What's going on, brother? What are you up to, man?
En route to where? I don't know.
Ah, ah.
But I'm on my way.
Bro, let me tell you something. You know what I've been doing this last week since I got back?
What?
I've
Nothing?
been I've been sitting out in that backyard every chance I've gotten and basically freaking strip naked and just like soaking up the sun. 'Cause
Yeah?
it has been glorious here. It's like Southern California weather. It's like 70 degrees. I'd never
That's great.
experienced winter like this, so it's amazing. It's
You were back
so
in Destin, right?
I'm in North Florida, yeah, yeah.
Got it, got it.
So,
That's
yeah,
nice.
beautiful, beautiful beaches, but it's small, it's deep south.
Fits.
Yeah, take
I
it
wanna
as it
sit
comes.
in the sun
My body
soon.
is I'm solar powered, bro. I'm like, yeah, you get to the Dominican Republic all the time, man. You escape winter quite often,
True. Fair statement.
right?
Yep.
I was telling you earlier, it's really wild because I'm like 3 chapters and I'm done with the book, man. I'm so excited. I'm really, really close. And I was writing about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is like an ancient book written by Lao Tzu.
That's when people
And
refer to the Tao, that's what that is, right?
well, the Tao literally translated means the way or the
The
path.
way.
So the Tao is the way or the path, but the Tao is also this universal, and tell me what this sounds like, this universal energy that binds and underpins all of life, holds us all together, and it's like a current that flows through us and binds everything together. And it sounds exactly like the Force because that's where, when Obi-Wan Kenobi was describing it to Luke Skywalker, George Lucas just was like, "Oh, that's really cool. I'm taking that, the Tao, and I'll rename it the Force."
Yeah, just like awareness, pure awareness. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, but it's a current. So
Yep.
it's a current that goes through, and so it's invisible, it's very hard to describe because it's invisible, but it's a current that goes through life. And so, what is the Tao? The Tao is like I was giving examples in this dialogue between the student and mentor in the book. An example is a leaf that is floating down the river all the way from the mountaintop to the sea and expending zero energy. That is the Tao. The Tao is also a cat, a great hunter that just sits. You ever watched a cat hunt a mouse?
Sure.
They just sit,
Yeah.
stare, crouched, ready, silent, watching for how long
However
the cat waits?
however long it takes.
Until the Tao tells it that it's time to strike, you
Yeah.
know? And what else is the Tao? The Tao is a bird that is flying across the sky with minimal flaps of its wings, expending as little energy as possible.
That then relates to the breath, right? The effortless, involuntary
That's right. That's the
isness.
Tao. The natural breathing is the Tao. And so you learn, it's really interesting. When I was younger, I wasn't as in tune because we develop through meditation and just sitting with ourselves and our consciousness, we develop the path for me is developing much more subtle awareness of my body. Like if I can see an impulse rise up inside of me early on, like to binge eat, then it's much easier to deal with.
Sure.
But if by the time I'm aware of it, if it's already sprung up and it's like, you gotta eat some friggin', whatever it is, chocolate, croissant, whatever it is that is not on the agenda, by that point, it's almost too late. It's already overcome me and I'm just like in its grips.
It's like cooking when you're hungry.
Yeah, it's like exact or going to the grocery when you're hungry. They say that's a
Yeah.
very bad thing to do.
Yep,
And
yep.
because isn't that interesting that hunger, people will deny and they're like, "No, I have free will." Well, what is it that if a researcher does research on 1,000 people and looks at what they buy when they go into the store not hungry or they go into the store and they're absolutely starving?
Yeah.
How
Well,
much
it's
free
just
will do you really have, right? Is that hunger guiding you? Well, yeah, it is.
it's like everything. It's like it's all of the states of dis-ease that people try to cope through. You know what I mean? It's like we're not good at being uncomfortable. As a species, we're not very good at being uncomfortable and not having like the next move sorted out, whether that's the next meal, what are you doing with your life, or whatever it is. It's
Mhm.
just that the moment we hit points of cognitive dissonance, it's a struggle.
Yeah, once we hit that dysregulation, you know where we are now compared to where we were, 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago? We're in the
You
same
think
place.
you think so?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
probably. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean,
A human being is, what were the rishis when they sat in a cave or took psychedelics or whatever, and they studied their consciousness. It was no different than our consciousness. If you look at what a lot of the teachings are about, it's about dealing with anxiety and suffering and impulses and being unhappy and finding happiness and unlocking it.
I do think the real difference maker is the technology, the phone, the internet. I think that humans have never dealt with that. Maybe not deal, but the pace and the quantity,
It's worse.
we've never like, you talk about slavery and, like, not having free will. I mean, just think about, like, the algorithms on Instagram and TikTok. You know what I mean?
I was talking to one of the guys that I train with, Patrick. He's black belt, and we were on our way to the gym last night, and he was saying that for his health, he realized he had to have a non-negotiable rule training. There's no more social media till he wakes up in the morning.
Yeah.
And
It's good.
what he said it absolutely changed his sleeping. And because it changed his sleeping and his sleeping got better, that all of a sudden his impulses to eat got better and his happiness throughout the day, one change. And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
that's a good non-negotiable. And it's hard. That,
Super hard.
yeah.
Super hard.
I mean, you talk about a slave to, no one wants to admit that they are lacking free will, right? That's the ultimate admission of the ego that the ego is going to fight, right? And so people are like, no, 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 I have free will. But when you're really hungry and you go to the grocery store, your behavior is going to be severely impacted by that physical mental state.
Your position is that we don't have free will or that it's not as free as we think?
It's not as free as we think.
Okay.
And when we are one, it's the degree of the spectrum of dysregulation. I consider regulated to be like in a zen, content. I don't need anything. I'm fine. I'm chill. When we're in that state, think of it like this: the degree of your decisions when you go into the grocery store are statistically and empirically proven that it's going to impact your behavior, right? And so if you're at a 10 of starving, you're probably going to be reaching in the bins and just eating and then being like, I don't care what the repercussions are. So I don't think it's any different. I think that when you're in a state of anxiety or even a state of boredom, which is uncomfortable, you're going to pick up the phone without realizing it. And that goes back to what we were talking about of patterns, when we've lost our free will.
Just kind of like on autopilot.
You're
Sucks.
just on autopilot, man. It does suck. It sucks. Because then you blink and you wake up and you're in the driveway. Think about how dangerous it is to drive a car in rush hour traffic.
It happens to me all the time. I'll pick my head up like, where the fuck am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? I'm like, what?
Right.
It happens literally. Where am I? Where am I going? And then you snap back in, but it happens.
It just shows that the brain, because we evolved, energy was so precious when we were surviving famines for times in the savannas over millions of years. So much of when we exercise, when we try and multitask, when we do higher level cognitive tasks, it takes an enormous amount of energy. The brain takes a lot of energy. And so to the brain develop patterns, and that's why we have patterns. So if we can remain liberated or free from our patterns, then we have a greater degree of autonomy where we can be like, no, I'm going to only eat this. I'm going to only do this. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm not going to be erratic, things like that.
Do you listen or watch that guy Chris Williams on Modern Wisdom, the
Mm.
British guy?
I think I've seen a couple people on his podcast.
Like Matthew McConaughey did it. A bunch of people did it. He's kind of getting big. He's like English guy. He's like really in good shape. He's into training and stuff. He's a modern philosopher. So what he's doing, he's talking about the same shit that we're talking about. And he interviewed this other intellectual guy. His name is like Alain something like a British guy. It's got a French name. They were talking about words, and I felt that was very interesting. Like the power of words and language throughout time. This guy was talking about when he discovered the word anxiety, how words give meaning, take meaning, but then it's all in transition. So, like over time, we're influencing language, we're changing it to suit our needs, discarding it, and how fluid it is, but how it also affects meaning in everything we do. I found that very interesting because you talk about free will and philosophy in general. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you think what you think? There's no such thing as certitude. We were talking here at my office yesterday. One of my employees came in and was like just talking some existential shit. And we were just rapping by the coffee machine and how there's no fixed point. You got to accept that, like, you're in a river and that river never stops flowing and you'll never be in the same river twice.
What is that saying? No man or woman steps in the same river twice,
Yep.
because you're not the same person and it's not the same river.
Yeah. And that's like really life. You know what I mean? And people, we've been a lot, like I'm sure you see this now too. The people that are happy, and the people that aren't happy are, up in arms, like, oh, we're being taken over by Nazis and this, that, whatever. You know what I mean? What I find interesting is it is so clear to me that everybody is looking for this fixed point. Like, okay, now everything's going to be all right. Because what I believe is the same thing as what they believe. And that's what's going to happen. And my view of what things should be is agreed upon and I can feel comfortable now. People are looking for that and it just doesn't exist. Just doesn't exist.
That's where, like, people are the mind. This is back to language, right? And I'm always really, really intentional with my language. I'm like, my mind, I am not my mind, right?
You said it to me.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not my mind. I don't talk about my mind like I am my mind. I don't say, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this. I say my mind is uncomfortable with this. My mind is uncomfortable with uncertainty. My mind is, and everyone's mind. And so when we are aware that when we have the dysregulation of uncertainty, which is a form of suffering, we need to be aware of it and be like, okay, I get it. I'm becoming more subtly aware of when this anxiety of lack of certitude is rising up in me. And the earlier I can catch it, the earlier I can say, oh, here's my coping mechanism. And a very common coping mechanism for people is to, when they're uncomfortable with certainty, is to go to the crowd, right? And if it's like, I want to recruit people and I want to find like-minded people and I
Well,
want
it's
to watch the
validation. It's tell me I'm not.
tell me everything's going to be
Tell me everything.
correct.
Tell me everything's gonna be okay.
That's right.
Need some.
That's what, these news channels do. And that's why people stay glued to these news channels, because it gives them a degree of, "Oh, okay, this is the correct" think about it, this is the correct thought process. It's really just religion. All it is, all news channels are, is modern day religion.
And it's the same with political affiliation and any like
Because
extreme.
news channels are political affiliation. They're a mouthpiece for the political organizations
And
on both sides.
it's mind blowing to me how in today's day and age with all of like in 2016, I tapped out and I've never gone back to news since 2016. But I've always been a healthy skeptic of just everything my whole life. I've always had a healthy sense of like, yeah, everybody's full of shit. Nobody has the answer, and I'm not looking for it from anyone. I've always had a healthy sense of that. But it's wild to me how many people don't understand that and don't see it as so obvious. Like, if you're caught up, if you think that fucking Trump's gonna the savior of the universe, you're just as crazy as if you think that he is the second coming of Hitler and he needs to be eradicated. It's like, what's going on inside of you that you need so badly to have some external narrative aligned
It's fear. People are
fear?
fearful. They seek to be consoled by crowds.
Yeah.
That's where Zen practices of turning inward are just the most punk rock thing ever. You're turning away from the crowd, embracing the fact that the stories in your mind are nonsense and even your identity is nonsense. Whenever I feel that discomfort with uncertainty, it's that, okay, just turn inward.
I follow a British guy on Instagram who's super nuts, but he's into what we're into and he did a book and everything. He had this thing, which I think is interesting. When you talk about people going to crowds or looking for an external somebody to say everything's going to be okay, it's like that's your job. You have to turn inward and tell yourself everything's okay. I'm okay. Even though the world might be falling apart around me, I'm okay because
For me, it's like I'm like, okay, you need to go inward and go past your conscious mind because your conscious mind is also with 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day is going to be kicking out a bunch of noise. What we see externally is really a mirror for what's happening in us. I'm undergoing the same thing that this person is undergoing. We're all human. That humanity, part of being human is the mind, is our discomfort, and then attaching to whatever random thought we have that we feel is going to make us turn inward and go past the thoughts, go to the pure awareness. And when you go to the pure awareness is the only thing in reality that doesn't change. Everything else in the world is changing at all times. It's just sand going through your fingers, your family, your friends, your job, your money. It's all just flowing.
lava.
Very only thing you have that is certain is your awareness. It's the only thing you know. I am, and I have been as long as I can remember. And when we turn in and we anchor ourselves in that pure awareness again and again and again, we learn to understand that first and foremost, my thoughts are not something that I can depend on. They're no different than the different news channels.
What's interesting is that this is what Jesus was talking about. This is what Muhammad was talking about. This is what all of these guys who
Buddha,
came this is what they were all referring to, but then these things turn into these dogmatic rules, right and
bureaucracy.
wrong and
They turned into
yeah.
bureaucracy.
Yeah,
By bureaucracy,
but is it human nature for that to happen or is it just seems as though we can't help but organize and categorize, and there's some potential good reasons for it, but it always kinda turns into what it shouldn't.
turn inward.
Yeah.
Whenever
Turn
this is the Tao, this is what we were talking about at the very beginning. The Tao runs through us, it runs through society. Part of the Tao Te Ching was also being a leader and understanding and how to lead correctly to be a benevolent leader. A lot of it deals with the 81 verses of the Tao Te Ching deal with even society level things because it's, again, the Tao runs through everything and our our universe inside of us is a microcosm of the macrocosm that we see. If I'm at peace, then I tend to see the world at peace. If I'm at chaos, then I tend to see the world at chaos. If I'm at war with myself, I tend to see war everywhere. So, so what's really when I my journey, like with the Tao, is so the more we sit with our own awareness and we learn to be to really spot our patterns and impulses and all at a very subtle level, we also notice the Tao is guiding us at a very subtle level. We're getting signs. I remember when I had this realization when it had to be like in my early 20s when I just realized this day is going bad from start to finish, right? You ever have a day like that where no
Oh
matter
yeah.
what, everything was shit? That's the Tao. And so I learned to identify that and to just go sit at the beach. Be like, I'm not trying anything anymore,
Or
right?
just go to sleep and say, you know
Go to
what, wake
sleep.
up tomorrow.
Go to sleep and wake up tomorrow because tomorrow will be a new day. We've all had that experience where you're just and the best thing to do, like the Tao Te Ching and the dealing with the Tao is like, dude, you're in a river and the river and you we are in a river and the river is the Tao. Sometimes we're so like I was where I didn't have the subtlety. I would only notice the Tao when it was chaos and I was going down the river and caught in rapids. The best thing to do, like when you're surfing, is just relax. Just take the hits. If you fight it, you're gonna get tired and you might drown. So it's no different with the Tao, right? When things are going bad, it's like if we use that as a lens, this is the Tao every day. The more we hone and develop our skills at recognizing the energy, the Tao, the energy of life, the easier life gets. Oh, I'm in this current right now. Sometimes it's like, dude, I need to go buy a lottery ticket because everything is going awesome today.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You've had those days, right?
Where it's all going right.
It's all clicking. It's like,
Yep.
I can do no wrong, you know? But the mistake we make is that we allow the ego or the mind to say, I can do no wrong. What
Yeah.
we really need to be is like, oh, I'm in the current of the Tao and now everything is going well. It's very auspicious, lucky, good day.
Developing the expectation that things are always going to be that way, or that's what things need to be in order for you to be happy, or vice versa. When you're in the downswings, thinking that like you not attaching to
It's going
one
to
or the
last
other.
forever.
Yeah.
It's
Understanding
going to
that
last forever.
they're all temporary, and the better you can cycle through the periods, the better you can go from down to up.
Think about this in the rapids and things are chaotic, right? And it's like, oh, this is really bad. The ideal thing would be if we could develop the ability to say, dude, this is super cool. I'm in rapids right now. People pay money to do this, right?
Yeah. Gratitude.
I'm grateful for the experience. Everything go to shit.
Yeah. 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 That's like that stoic amor fati, to love whatever it is that's happening to you, good or bad, and understanding that regardless of what's happening, it was meant for you, and you're going to be able to use it for some form of learning and growth. So you have to be grateful and in love with whatever's happening to you.
That is the Tao, though.
Yeah. It's all the
Exactly.
same stuff. Everything is everything.
This river is taking you. The greatest gift we can give ourselves is the ability to do just that, to just be see awesome. Like with surfing, you develop an ability as a surfer to embrace, oh my gosh, I'm about to get murdered. This is terrifying. And yes, I could probably die right here, but there's a roller coaster element to it that is actually kind of fun. And then after a while of surfing, when it's big and you're out there with your friends, the greatest joy you can take is watching your friend get absolutely clobbered and murdered. You're
Yeah.
paddling out and you barely get underneath and you look back and your friend's eyes are wide because you know you're both gonna laugh about it,
Yeah, sure.
right? Everybody's gonna laugh about it. It was the funniest thing. You're like, "Man, you got murdered." It was awesome to see because I know the next person that gets murdered is probably me. And
Yeah.
then you're like, "Dude, you learn to have this." But I think we need to, or we don't need to do anything, but it would be wise to learn to just say, "Okay, I'm in the rapids," or, "Wow, I am in this skiing period where I'm at a point in the river where it's really, really slow and not much is happening. And it's time to just enjoy the sun."
That's my personal hardest point. That's my hardest point. When it's slow and everything's kind of in place and moving, where you should just be like, "You know what? Let's be grateful for the fact that there's downtime and there's not any fires that need to be put out, and it's just we're just moving 55 mph." That's where I get all fucked up. That's where my anxiety kicks, my trauma, all whatever the words you wanna
Where
use.
you start sabotaging,
I
you
start
start
sabotaging, I start creating problems, I start freaking out because I have some sort of a connection to, like, I have to be in motion. I have to be driving towards something in order to feel worthy, in order to feel like, but I mean, the older I get, the more I'm becoming aware of this and hopefully.
that's it right there.
Yeah,
You're aware that you have this thing, right? And do you feel like you're aware when it starts rising up in you? Like, when do you become aware that this is happening? When you notice things are calm or when you notice that you're freaking out because things are calm? Where do you think you sit on that spectrum?
I think it's gotten a little better in terms of being able to see it as it's coming, but it's wreaked some serious fucking havoc in my life, like serious, major fucking havoc.
Yeah.
And, I'm kinda at a place where it's like, "Okay, I've made some really bad moves based on these issues and this pattern. I'm aware of it. I have some knowledge and awareness of where it comes from and why." Now it's like, well, how do I reframe my life and not let it get so out of control the way that it's gotten out of control?
Yeah.
That's kinda where I'm at now.
I think it's really important to understand this phenomenon because I think it's more widespread and more people suffer from this than they're willing to acknowledge because of the fact that we celebrate the archetype in our society of the doer,
Sure. And
right?
money and status and success and fucking all of that. That's the most celebrated thing in our culture.
And yet that comes with this that is such a double-edged sword because it's so driven, that archetype is so driven by that need to do and accomplish. It's almost like it's better in that mindset, and we all have it. It's better to run fast the wrong way than to just sit still and figure out where we're going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and that's kind of like the disease that I have. I don't necessarily have to be productive, but I need to feel like I'm in motion, and the motion might not be serving me, but if in motion feels better than not in motion. I've done a decent amount of work, and I think I understand and have identified where it comes from, why I have the need to be productive and successful and all that kind of stuff. And now it's about, like, dismantling where it came from and why it developed and trying to peel off the positive traits and aspects of being a doer and putting them over here and separating them from all of, like, the negative and traumatic origins of where it comes from, and, like, not be attached to the outcomes. Have the discipline to run the patterns, do the behaviors, do the things, but not be so attached in your identity to the outcomes. And that's like super hard, man.
It's very hard. That is the, when we get to the origin of what are the impressions in my psyche and what are the origins of all these coping patterns, it's wild because we not only have need to get to the origins of the coping patterns and mechanisms in how we deal with the uncomfortable dysregulation, we also need to get to the origins of our very motivations. And so, what is it? Why is it? Why am I being compelled to do something? Not only with a pattern, but why am I being compelled to succeed? And why, not only that, what is the origin of me even feeling uncomfortable to begin with? Because is that's the lowest rung we need to get to. That's the source. If we can clear out those impressions that are deep in the psyche, that are in the subconscious of why we're feeling uncomfortable, because really it goes back to the surfing thing. I want to enjoy surfing at every stage. I want to enjoy when I show up at the beach, I want to have the excitement of getting to the beach, of waking up and going, of checking the swell, of getting there, of looking at the waves, looking at my friends, feeling that joy, being a little afraid. I want to enjoy the fear. I want to enjoy the paddle out where I'm getting hammered. Then I want to enjoy the waiting. And then I want to enjoy the dropping in and getting the wave, or dropping in and getting hammered and then coming back out and laughing with my friends. What I don't want is to at any point be dreading and wishing I wasn't there and not being able to really be fully present in the moment and thinking about the future, thinking about the past. No, I want to be completely present. No matter what's happening, I am enjoying the paddle out. I'm enjoying the wave about to destroy me and break my board, and knock my tooth out, like, whatever it is. And if I can't be completely present, then I have a problem because now I'm not enjoying my life.
Yeah, I think everybody is suffering from some version of that. Here's a question. If you had to choose surfing or jujitsu, which would you choose?
I did choose, and I think I've chosen jujitsu. So I love both, and there's a correlation between both because they're both really fun. But, there definitely came a point at which my Tao, while at one point it was surfing, it became both, and then it became more of jujitsu and martial arts. And I think they're both super, super fun, but it just became like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my path. This is going to lead me to places that I don't know where it is. And this was very early on. I don't know where it's going, but I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm enjoying all aspects of jujitsu like I enjoy surfing. But what I didn't see at the time was that jujitsu was going to open up the world for me in ways that surfing never could. I have traveled the world teaching jujitsu, everywhere from Moscow to Chechnya to Ecuador to Spain to, you name it. I've been there and I've taught in London and all over the place. Sicily, I lived in Sicily for a year. That wasn't because of surfing, that was because of jujitsu. So that was my Tao. And I'm glad I listened to it.
I haven't been getting enough training in lately. I'm barely hanging on, but I haven't been getting enough. But
Is it
I've been
calling you, or what are you feeling?
yeah, I mean, I've made so much progress and I don't want to lose that. I'm keeping up with lifting weights and doing some cardio on days that I can't train jujitsu. I just haven't been getting there enough. And yeah, it's calling. Of course, it's calling me. I'm very conscious of like I've made practice. I've dedicated. I've invested almost a decade. I think I'm 8 or 9 years in, and that means something. You know what I mean? I don't want to get too caught up with like, you know, being obsessed of like, getting the brown belt, next belt or whatever. But like, I also don't want to forsake all of the work and investment that I've put in.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes back to, the non-negotiables when you're making out your calendar for the week, even if it's just in your head,
Yeah, but
you
I
know?
suck at this. I was just talking to somebody. I have like a guy I
How do
work
you
with.
suck at this when you're an entrepreneur who gets all these things done?
It's so weird, man. It's like I am so horrible at planning individually, but I'm very good at putting a team together of planners and speaking the vision and getting the people who are good at planning all on the same page and moving forward. But I am like me, like running my own day, my own ability to plan and schedule and my calendar. I'm horrible. I'm so ruled by emotion. I'm so ruled by, but I'm excellent. Like, you drop me off in the helicopter into the jungle and you have me suited up and it's like, all right, we got to go kill this guy. Don't give me too many things to think about. Drop me off and it's game time. Like, that's where I'm the best. And that's why I'm also kind of addicted to being in those like do scenarios.
Or the
Like,
high pressure. Yeah,
yes.
that's why when you don't have the high pressure, it makes sense now. When you don't have the high pressure, you start to freak out.
So when you talk about non-negotiables, like that's so hard for me because for me, almost everything is negotiable. If it's and it's crazy. Like, I grew up in, my dad was an entrepreneur and it was a fucking whack job. And, great person, great heart, just wasn't able to manage, it wasn't a good manager. And so, started businesses, lost businesses, made money, lost money, and all for the lack of process and planning. And thankfully, I've been able to learn from those mistakes and put the right people into place. But when you talk about non-negotiables, like I've built everything that I have by being the guy that is ready when the opportunity comes and has the ability to fucking cajole it just right so that we can get this thing off. And then we'll tweak it as we go. But maybe we gotta like, take this thing on. And it's not so great in the beginning, but yet I see that it can be good. And
Yeah.
I got to convince the people that I'm with. So, like, to me, non negotiables almost don't exist because if this can get us to where we want to go, we're going to make it happen, regardless of what it takes.
Well,
And that's been a blessing and a curse in my life.
yeah, when I work with people and we're talking about non-negotiables, I'm like, listen, you have a calendar, right? And the idea is only put things on there that are non-negotiables. And the rest of it you figure out. Some people are like, well, I don't do non-negotiables. I'm like, do you brush your teeth every day?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then you can handle non-negotiables.
I need a
Because that's a
reframing.
non-negotiable. What's that?
I need a reframing of this. This is something that very much so right now in my life needs a reframing.
Okay, from 7 a.m., whatever time you wake up, no judgment. You're an
Well, check
adult,
this out.
right?
Let's
Uh-huh.
start here, right? Let's start here. This is where all my bullshit fucking starts, right? I
Mhm.
wake up generally every day around 5 a.m. most of the time, right? In that zone. I'll wake up, I'll take my dog out. It's cold as shit. And
You brush your teeth?
I don't brush I usually brush my teeth after I have coffee. But
Okay.
but
But you
so
brush your teeth
oh yeah, of course. But
and you take your dog out.
I take the dog out, but after I take the dog out, I put him back in his crate and I go back to sleep. I get back in the bed and I languish for an hour and I don't I want to be the guy that gets up and I'm starting. But
Why?
I've I don't know. Yeah,
That's a
maybe
very arbitrary rule. What is the Tao telling you? If the Tao's like, "Dude, get some rest," then get some rest.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I have all sorts of the wrong frameworks around these
Yes,
perspectives.
it's like your number one thing that you we talked about resource management in the brain and patterns. The number one thing we can do is rest and make sure that we're not like charging and depleting all our energy and then frazzled and then we've lost our willpower because we're pushing through an unnatural schedule. Part of the Tao is If you're the bird who flaps its wings once every 10 minutes as it's gliding on that current, or you want to be that one, or you want to be the one that turns around and is like, no, I got to go that way. And then you're flapping and getting nowhere. And then you're frazzled. You know what happens when you don't have energy and you become erratic? You lose your willpower. So if your Tao, everyone's different, is like, I need to go back to bed and relax and rest up a little more. So what? Who cares? That's
Yep.
your body telling you that that's
Yep.
what you need to do. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you wake up and have coffee, right? You brush your teeth. Those are non-negotiables. I have coffee every morning. That's a non-negotiable. I love it, you know?
Yeah.
And then it just becomes what's the most critical things. I do yoga, even if it's 5 minutes. I always meditate when I wake up in the morning. It's the number one thing I do. And I get up and I start my day. And then I don't really have, oh, then I'll have another non-negotiable is I'm going to drink a big lemon water with apple cider vinegar. And I really instruct people, like, I want you to do this every morning. Why? Because I want you to start showing your brain, your mind, which you are not your mind, that you have non-negotiables and you can stick to them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Drinking that water with lemon informs the mind, hey, this is a non-negotiable. We're doing this. It's easy. It's easy. If you can't do that, then all else needs to stop in your life until you can get to the point where I don't care what we have to do. If I have to call you, if you got to get up and drink a big glass of lemon water with apple cider vinegar.
You do the water before you do the coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then I start making my coffee and I'm
Mm.
smiling.
Yeah.
And then and then I drink the same glass of water after I eat lunch. And I always try and eat a salad for lunch. I don't care. Here's how much a salad for lunch is a non-negotiable for me. When I was flying from Barcelona to New York, I went to the store. I got a $2 bottle, a $2 bag of in Europe, it's probably a dollar bag of salad the night before. And that next morning, I get up, I get to the airport, and it's time for lunch. I just open the bag and I just take handfuls and I put it in my mouth and I eat it. I'll probably do it today.
It's discipline.
I'm eating salad. That's a
Yeah.
non-negotiable. If it's
Yeah.
one big handful of lettuce, I'm eating it. And I can eat whatever else I want. If I want to eat beans or whatever, whatever it is, but that's a non-negotiable. Then after that, I have another big glass of water where I put creatine and electrolytes in it, and I drink that. Now, think about my mind now understands that, oh no, we are disciplined.
And the non-negotiable, and I know this. I know this. The non-negotiable is really saying to yourself,
To your mind,
to your mind, saying to your
This is
mind, like,
language.
yep, saying to your mind, I'm a priority and I need to take care of myself. And
Right.
and this is why I'm going to do this. If you look at my life on paper, you could say, well, this guy does what he wants to do. All the things that he does is all about, like, living out his own dreams and passions. And you know what I mean? Like you could argue that, like, selfish and this, that, and the third, but in some weird tripped out way, there's such a strong pattern of it not being easy to do the things that are really good for you.
Mm.
The things that are really good for you, that are really like, hey, wait a second. If I'm all anxious and fucked up, I can't be good for anybody. So I need to over prioritize my mental state. How could I ever not be willing to communicate the things that make me uncomfortable? You don't communicate those things because of responsibility, because of, expectation and what you're supposed to be as a
Conflict
man,
avoidance. Yeah.
as a grown up, as a husband, as a father. You know what I mean? You suck down so much shit and you do so much shit because of what the expectations are, rather than be like, whoa, wait a second. If I'm not good, I can't be good for anyone. So I got to stop everything. I don't give a fuck what you think, what you say, and I need to regulate. You would think that that's the way you're supposed to be, but I have a deep programming against a lot of that because like there's obligation and responsibility and all these things are attached to movement and productivity. And once I get everything done, once I have multiple business producing X amount of money and all the bases are covered, then I can finally take a step back and enjoy. And once I get here, then I can, and it's all bullshit.
Yeah, you'll never get to that point,
No, you gotta
ever.
be there now.
You gotta be there now. Yeah, and that's where the non-negotiables come in. I'm like, "Listen, if I'm gonna be a contributing a really healthy contributing member to society, my family, my business, whatever it is, it's like, if I'm frazzled and erratic, then I'm just gonna create chaos wherever I go. And I may feel my mind may feel like, "Oh, man, I'm kicking ass today because 'cause I'm creating chaos."
But you're not.
It's a trick, it's an illusion of the mind. So,
Wow.
yeah, so we have to, that's where, I drink the water with the electrolytes and the creatine because that's a non-negotiable. So now, and then I'm like, okay, then then it's, like a couple hours later, I'm going to meditate again. Then I'm going to go to the gym for 15 minutes. Then I'm going to go to jujitsu. And it's like, that's my routine. That's it. That comes first before everything else. 'Cause it
Yeah.
makes me a healthy person. It makes me someone that is just calm and contributing and is
And it works
there,
its
and
way
people
out.
wanna be around.
If you're calm and you're at peace with yourself, you're gonna be a better father, you're gonna be a better friend, you're gonna be a better partner, you're gonna be a better husband, wife, whatever. You're gonna be someone that people wanna be around, and by being around peace and tranquility, you radiate peace, and then other people feel good, and it's so simple, but it's so challenging to achieve.
That's the path, and the more we can align ourselves with the Tao, the more we develop this internal subtle awareness of where things are. Okay, there's too much chaos here. Let's, a lot of the difficult thing with people is, think of a pendulum, right? If you swing a pendulum from 30 degrees, it's going to swing back 30 degrees, right? And then it's gonna swing back another 30 degrees. And if you're like, "Okay, I'm way too out of whack, I'm not balanced," it's like the difficult thing for people is that the way to deal with it, this imbalance of this swinging, is you have to sit and watch it. And then it'll eventually wind itself back to balance. It's like the idea of the way if you have a cup that is clouded with mud, right? The only way to really let that water clear again is to wait. It will settle to the bottom, calm down, it will settle. And once it settles, you'll have clarity. That's
Yep.
what the Tao is about. Understanding when things are out of balance. The earlier we can see that the pendulum is starting to swing out of balance, the quicker we can step back and detach and watch. Don't feed it any more energy because the more we try and control it, the more we're pushing it and it's swinging before you know it. Where our emotions and our well-being is like being dragged. That's how erratic people are. I really struggle around being around erratic people. And I'm sure at one point in my life, I was an erratic person. I was trying to control everything and pushing, pushing, pushing. Attach, watch the pendulum, watch the water clear, and then once we're there in that state of calm, then we can just be like, okay, where's the Tao today? Maybe the Tao means just go hang out at the beach. Maybe the Tao is like, it's all coming together. Let's push. Let's go with the current. Let's swim it as fast as we can while it's swimming fast. And if it's rapids, then it's like, just watch. It's calm and we're going through that, yeah, there's going to be a couple days of just, there's not much to do. It's just we're waiting for other things to happen. Just enjoy the sun.
Yeah. Look, awesome.
So what else is going on, man? Anything planned? You've been watching anything?
Not yet. I really haven't gotten there. I'm just kind of working like crazy.
Working,
Yeah.
pushing, pushing, buzzing, right?
Pushing. Yeah, I really haven't been watching much.
We got a Super Bowl this week. I'm not a big football fanatic, but I always will
I
tend to
didn't even
catch a
know
little bit of the Super Bowl.
I didn't even know that until, like, yesterday. No
Oh my
idea.
gosh.
Yeah,
What is it?
I'm
The
tuned.
Chiefs and the Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles, I think.
Fuck if I know.
I
I
know.
have no
And what's
idea.
crazy is I'm speaking as if I know, and I haven't watched. I watched part of one football game when I was in New York. My buddy's a Buffalo fan, so we watched Buffalo Chiefs game, and that was it. It's all the football I've watched all year.
Are you
So
gonna, like, go to will you be at a party or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll see where the Tao takes me.
Oh, wait, what's the story with, I mean, are we staying in Florida? Where are we at? Well, we don't know. Not yet.
I don't know, wherever the Tao takes us, that's where we
Okay.
go.
Alright. Alright, cool, cool, cool. Cool.
Wherever the Tao takes us. Right now, it's sunny and I'm enjoying the sun. Tomorrow,
Alright.
they're I think I told you about the I'll say it one more time. I'll probably quote it a million times. The movie Perfect Days. By the way, you got to watch it. There's one guest who wants to come on and talk about it who listens to us. And so he has another podcast, and the
That's
movie is Perfect Days.
the Japanese one, right?
Yeah. So
I'll
then we'll
make sure
have
to
him
watch
on.
that.
He's on another podcast,
Okay.
and we'll have him on and talk about the movie. And the protagonist says, "What about next time?" I think his niece asked. And he goes, "Next time is next time. Now is now. Next time is next time. Now is now." And then they sing a song about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the Tao right there.
Next time is next time, now is now.
All
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
right, homie. Till next
Good one.
time, man.
Yes, sir.
After Super Bowl. That was a good one, man. Awesome. Sweet.